Good morning, everyone, and thank you for calling me here. I want to ask you a very simple question, which I have been asking from a very long time, that why is the world struggling so much with so many different crises? Has it always been the same like this? Were things really good in the past, or were they worst? I was born in Himachal, which is an ancient culture based on the coexistence between humans and the environment. I believe that vernacular architecture, indigenous wisdom, and the lessons from the past holds a key to a more holistic and a balanced future. I dedicated myself to learn from the Himalayas, from my roots, and only because I really wanted to develop the world in a more holistic and human way. Our ancestors, over the centuries, learned how to master the art of living with nature. It's not a quite lost art. It's still present there. We are still living by it. And there's a life which revolves around such architecture. We also have a very unique culture. We are known as the land of living gods. We have these ancient rituals and traditions with which we still live by. Right now, in the mountains, we are facing huge problems, and not just in the mountains, but in the entire globe. But Himalayas are much more sensitive, and we are really facing these flash floods, earthquakes, landslides, seasons are shifting, and we cannot escape it. And we cannot escape it because we are trapped there, because we really cannot leave the world, we cannot leave the house, and we have to do something about it. When I saw this, I felt that it cannot be unseen, and I had to do something about it. 40% of the entire global emissions are caused by the building industry. We think of like transport, the entire transport sector combined is only 23% of the global emissions. And that means that buildings are a huge problem. Buildings are a huge part of this problem, and we really need to think, how we are moving with building our environments and surroundings. There are three major materials which we are using right now, which is steel, concrete, and bricks. And there is this one of the oldest material known to mankind, which is wood. Out of these all four, the top three are basically a non-renewable resource. You all know that. That means they will deplete after a certain point of time. And they are also not really, carbon positive. They have a huge carbon footprint on the environment. On the other hand, wood is a material which is a renewable resource. It can be grown very easily. And then it can create wonderful structural strength. And we have architecture from Himachal, which is an example of how longevity is, it is from the key of flexibility that longevity can be arranged. And wood as a structural member can really be a potential for the future of the buildings. I run this small organization called North. I came back after doing my architecture, and I went back to Himachal to start this. We are working tirelessly towards building a responsible system, like towards building an ecosystem which can balance out the cultural preservation, social development, environmental sustainability, along with the economic growth of the indigenous communities in the Himalayas. For me, architecture and design has a simple purpose. It needs to serve the people. It needs to serve the communities we are living in. And we really need to work towards a higher and much richer quality of life as human beings. And the vernacular architecture, the indigenous craftsmanship, is a way forward and can really show us the way. And I always say that, we have to learn from the past to innovate for the future. We really can't, that gives us the ground to work forward. That's the foundations for the future. These are the two major techniques from the Himalayas. One is called Kathkuni architecture. The other one is called Dhajji Dewari. Dhajji Dewari is the cross-braced wooden framing. It has been there over the entire western Himalayas, and it's a very cost-effective technique and both the techniques, they use wood and stone as the main material for building. And these both materials are very locally available to us in the mountains, and hence it is a very obvious choice for us to build with that. Second really important thing is that they are climate responsive. You don't feel cold inside such buildings in the mountains. You feel they're warmer in the cold climate, and then they are hot in the summertime, so in the winters. So that's really an advantage of living in such houses. They are breathable materials. So the quality of air inside is always really good, and they will go back to nature one day, right? They are not something which we are dumping on the earth. They are the part of earth. So I always called it like, we are living, these are the living museums, because we are using the wood and stone, and it will stay forever, and they'll go back one day, after a very, very long time, back to the nature. Now you see the wood is the main resource over here, right? And the first thing that comes to our mind when we talk about wood is deforestation. And of course, because deforestation is also contributing 18% to the global carbon emissions, and hence it is really crucial for us to look at our forest as a very valuable resource. And in our culture, we always treat trees much more higher than even we greet humans. We always do a puja before we cut down a tree. We see that it is full of age, and we really value each and every part of the wood when we are building with wood. Wood is a really good material. All of you know that it gives oxygen when it's growing. So that means we don't have to produce it. Unlike cement, concrete, steel, we have to put up so much big industries for that, whereas wood can be grown. And while growing, it will give you oxygen, it will take away carbon dioxide, and when we build the house with it, the carbon stores in that wood. So it will not go. Or else, when we make let's say a concrete building, it's always emitting carbon into the environment. And it's a big, huge difference between building with wood or any other natural material for that matter. So my philosophy of working basically is by learning by doing. And so soon after my education, I basically ran back to my village, and I said that now I have to practically learn it with my own hands. So I spent almost 2 to 3 years, initial years of founding North. I was there on the ground. We still are there when we are building houses. But that was the time when I picked up a stone, I picked up a wood, and I got to know how much, how much hard work goes to work with such materials. And now I am a better designer because I have that practical sense of working with such materials. The other very important thing was to kind of educate, because when you are learning, when you are trying to do this, it is not just a one person's job. We really need more people, more awareness to kind of be out, more young people to know about this, and let's say they can then decide that we want to go forward in this direction in life. And so what I started doing was, I started training the local villagers of Himachal. I started again telling them the self-worth which we were losing somehow. And my main concern became that, I tell people about this, what assets we had, what kind of values they can hold. Because in villages, people are aspiring to become like cities. And in cities now we are confused that where are we heading to. So we are now looking back again to the past and things which were more connected to the nature. So I have to tell them, that your aspirations, you're already one step ahead. So just, recognize your assets and follow that. And for that, we are taking a lot of different workshops, courses for budding architects, for villagers, for school kids to follow this, journey and kind of become more aware. Now I wanted to show you some of our projects. This is basically the physical manifestation of all the intangible cultural identity embedded in this century-long evolution of experimentation and engineering, right? So we have these lessons with which we can build for today's time. So this house is called Dhajji cabin. It is named after the technique called Dhajji Dewari. And it is an authentic built house. So, there are so many questions when we are building, will the water seep in? Will it be hot in the winters? And there are myths surrounding wood that, wood can decay very quickly in rain. So we made the entire roof which is made out of wood. just to show that wood is not so easily decaying, right? It has a life, and it has survived over thousands of years, and hence it can do a little bit more as well. These buildings have a much more higher lifespan than a normal concrete building. These buildings can easily last more than 150 years, and the old architectural, the references which we have, like Nagar Castle, the old temples of Himachal, they are lasting from centuries, like. And so I really want to prove that point again, and then we also want to tell people that this is not just a thing from the past. It really can become a thing which is for the future, which is for our current comforts, and it really has all the modern amenities which we can think of. So this became one of the first projects, very benchmarking project, and now we are doing more of such projects in Himachal, where it is, so from my side, as an architect, I thought it should be really adaptable for the villagers. It need not to be something which is out and foreign. It needs to have the cultural wisdom and something which a local villager can very easily apply in their day-to-day life. This is another project which we recently finished. This is a 60 feet tall temple which was built in Ahmedabad. Now for that, we sourced the wood locally from Ahmedabad. The stone on the roof is the slate stone which was brought from Himachal. And we really wanted to show the world that wooden framework and wooden structures can have a building which is almost 60 feet high, and then it can still be so much earthquake resilient, and we are forgetting such lessons from past, but we really have that wisdom still alive in India, and we really need to promote it to the world. We are doing so many different scale projects. There are large scale projects. There are these projects for ecotourism properties in Himachal. We are doing Rohtang ropeway, which will be one of the longest ropeway and the highest one in India. And I would say I'm lucky that I have been able to convince people, to follow such kind of an architecture. And for me, this is not just a technique which we are taking forward. This is our culture. This is the values which we used to have. And because of the surroundings, they will influence our day-to-day life. And I really think that we need such kind of materials around us. And hence, like, that will define our day-to-day activities as well. I feel like the past are like the roots of the tree. They are the foundations, they are the wisdom, they are the ones which keeps us strong. And the branches are the leaves and the flowers and the fruits are something which we all are working for. Those are our actions, the things we choose to do in our life. And, they will be only fruitful if, like, our roots are very strong. We really need to nurture the roots, and then we can enjoy the fruits of that. And I would like to ask you to take a pause in your life, That's what I did also. So take a pause, be very, very, very conscious about the actions you are taking today, and, go back to your roots, embrace your culture, and I'm definitely going to tell you that you will find a way towards your future. Thank you.